A balmy autumn evening, the perfect time for a ball. Elegant ladies and gallant gentlemen, and even the emperor himself were ready to waltz. But the grand case soon interrupted by terrible news. Napoleon's army had invaded Russia. This is Peterhof, home to Russia's most beautiful palaces and gardens. Every autumn, a glorious celebration marks the end of the fountain season. Today's event is dedicated to the War of 1812. However, this magnificent ensemble of museums and fountains is more than just a remnant of Peter the Great's 19th century Russia. It also bears the scars of World War II.
Welcome to Peterhof. It is the most visited museum in Russia. Around 4.2 million tourists come to Peterhof every year. Why do people come here? Because Peterhof boasts 150 fountains, 7 palaces and 23 museums. And, of course, the most important highlight of Peterhof is its fountain system.
First fountains, go.
Roger.
Each day at 11 a.m., thousands of tourists gather in the lower gardens of Peterhof to see for themselves the fountains start up. It takes 12 people to open all the valves, and recently it's been accompanied by St. Petersburg's anthem.
Well done.
The idea to build this residence struck Peter the Great during his diplomatic visit to Versailles. However, all of the fountains at Versailles were run with the help of pumps, so they could only operate without human assistance for a very short period of time, and then they had to be pumped. That is why Peter the Great used the Italian gravity system. This means all the Grand Cascade fountains flow on their own.
These fountains spray 1,000 liters of water per second, and in a day they'll use almost 30 million liters. That's enough to fill 12 Olympic-sized swimming pools, and to date, the fountains have never run dry.
Peter loved water very much. This feature was his brainchild, and he wanted to put it into life and see what it would look like, and he did. He could not wait until the official opening of the entire system, and he did a test run well before construction was complete.
Peterhof means Peter's court in German, and in the early 18th century, the emperor enlisted Europe's best architects, sculptors, gardeners and engineers, like Francesco Rastrelli, Nicola Michetti and Jean-Baptiste Leblond, all hired to help the emperor to realize his grand ideas. Even after Peter died, construction never stopped, as each successive ruler contributed to its present appearance. Its huge grounds can easily fit more than 500 football fields. Sofia Vachul is researching the imperial residence's unique fountain system. To finish her 10-year-long project, she still has to conduct a number of interviews.
The facade of the fountains is well known, but as for the pipe system, very few are aware of it. So I would like to make people familiar with it.
Nina Yershova has been in charge of preserving the fountain system for 35 years. She made up her mind to work here when she first saw the Grand Cascade at the age of 5. Grottos beneath the fountains are lit by daylight and still look as they did in Peter the Great's time. Back then, only people who were thin and short enough would be able to work here, so they could climb into a pipe and fix anything that broke down. Today's engineers solve such problems with the help of technology.
Well, we've got enough water today, so we can stand while working. We have no problems today. I saw a small leak, but you can look at it closely and decide what to do about it.
The water comes through the spout there. Everything's fine.
The Grand Cascade's central feature is the gilded Samson fountain. The water jet from the lion's mouth shoots 21 meters up into the sky. The Samson fountain commemorates Russia's victory over Sweden in the decisive Battle of Poltava, leading to victory in the Great Northern War. Since then, the image of Samson has not only symbolized Peter the Great and the Russian army, but also the victory in World War II.
In September 1941, the Germans began their 900-day siege of Leningrad. The authorities took whatever valuables they could from the palace to St. Isaac's Cathedral. These figures on the cascade were buried in the park, but the Samson weighs 3.5 tons. It was simply too heavy to move. When German soldiers took pictures here in 1943, the Samson was still present. When our troops liberated Peterhof, the Samson was gone.
When Peterhof was seized by the Nazis, it was almost completely demolished. The occupying forces took away the major bronze statues and lead bas-reliefs of the Grand Cascade. Almost 10,000 of the park's trees were cut down. Ditches and trenches replaced once magnificent palaces. After the war, when restoring the gardens and parks, many were killed by unexploded landmines. The Lavrentievs, who had returned to the city, were invited to reconstruct the fountain system. Before the revolution of 1917, the head of the family worked as a fountain maker for Emperor Nicholas II. His son, Pavel Lavrentiev, followed in his father's footsteps.
It was 1946, August as far as I remember, the opening of the first construction stage. There were only 2 Italian fountains, as well as terraced fountains. Samson was not there, only his pedestal.
Father and son had to work together all through the night. Only 2 hours before the grand opening in 1947 were the water jets for the pedestal of the Grand Cascade finally installed. The Lavrentievs were also present during the excavation of numerous sculptures.
In 1941, our guys were quick enough to bury all the sculptures from the Chess Mountain Cascade and the Gold Hill Cascade. The Germans never guessed they had done it. No wonder, it was the Russians who buried them, right where they removed them, next to the cascade. And of course, if the Germans had guessed about it, they would have taken all those sculptures with them.
As for Samson, he was never found. Some believe that the Germans took him away to be melted down for bronze. And so sculptor Vasily Simonov made a new one.
There had been a war and a blockade. More than 1 million people had died from starvation. And the beautiful, shiny Samson was delivered by tractor. People were crying and kneeling down. The police had stopped traffic. It was delivered here to open the 47th fountain season. For all Russians, the Samson fountain is the main fountain of Russia. It's not only a symbol of Peter's victory in Poltava, but also of our whole heroic history.
Vilya Mangulov is the oldest staff member at Peterhof. He knows the history of every sculpture in the park in detail, and only after his thorough examination may a restored statue return to Peterhof.
We shouldn't deviate from the anatomy.
It follows the picture that you sent us. We simply copied the way in which her fingers are bent.
Shall we press down the finger a little bit?
No, it's pressed down already. Is it as thick as the one in the picture?
Well, of course it can be improved.
Today, the biggest problem for Peterhof sculptures is vandalism. Some tourists break fingers off the statues, but unbeknownst to them, they're only taking home replicas. Many of the originals have long been kept hidden away in storage.
Despite all our efforts, marble sculptures have always been damaged, both now and in the times of Peter the Great. Here, incidentally, is one of Peterhof's best sculptures. It's Andromeda. Greek mythology has it that she was the daughter of an Ethiopian king who was due to be sacrificed to a sea monster so it would stop ravaging her kingdom. It was the ancient hero Perseus who defeated the sea monster and won over the beautiful Andromeda. The right hand was reconstructed after the war. However, you can see that this reconstructed hand doesn't have all 5 fingers.
This unusual sculpture is near Montplaisir, Peter the Great's favorite palace and the only building here to survive World War II intact. When approaching the Neptune fountain, Peter the Great used to say that sea air was the best medicine.
This is the first bronze statue of Russia. Before that, there were no secular statues in Russia at all. All the sculptures were religious and were made of either wood or stone. Peter wanted to have his own Neptune, but at that time, all the bronze was, of course, used to make cannons. So they took a bronze trophy cannon and cast this first Neptune. People always ask why it has such shiny feet. This is because tourists rub them for luck.
And how many times?
Oh, the more the better.
We've spent a lot of time thinking what to do for the fountain season's closing ceremony. We realized it wasn't just any old event, but the 200th anniversary of the victory in the 1812 war. The main theme of this performance is a ball interrupted by the war. Dances like these were common in this palace, and we're commemorating the 200th anniversary of Borodino this year.
All of Peterhof's staff members, some 2,000 of them, are busy making final preparations for the fountain season's closing ceremony. Details of the performance are a closely guarded secret, even from those who work at the historic Peterhof every day.